I'm Kirby Allison, and we love to help the well-dressed take care of their wardrobes. In today's video, we're going to take you along with us as we resole and repair these Allen Edmonds Fifth Avenues. If you have any questions or comments during this video, please ask them in the comments section below. I try to get back to as many of those questions as possible. So here we are. This is the first step of the resoling process. And Jim, talk to us a little bit about what we have here.
One of the first things I look for when I'm resoling a shoe is I go around, I check the welt, make sure nothing's pulling away from the upper. Because the last thing you want to do is cut the sole off if you have a bad welt and not know it, because then you can do more damage.
Yeah.
So, and then basically we want to take the rubber top lift off, take the heel base off, take the sole off, pick all the stitches out, and then get everything prepped, glued and ready to put the new sole on.
Okay, great. So let's...
Okay. So, first thing we like to do is, these tools, they're made for certain reasons, and this has kind of a little bit of a roll to it. So we like to, just roll it. I don't like watching videos sometimes of people repairing shoes and it looks like they're ripping your shoe apart. So we want to be gentle with the shoe because we don't want to break the shank or do anything crazy like that. So what we do is we take that off. Now we're going to be putting on a JR combination heel, which is a little bit thicker than the heel that or a typical Allen Edmonds heel like we have here. So there's a little bit of a midsole piece of rubber underneath that heel that we're going to take off as well, so that when we put on that combination heel, we haven't changed the height of the heel. We want to put everything back as far as the heel height, the sole thickness, everything like that, and unless the customer strictly asks for something different.
Now, if someone wants to increase the heel height during the resoling process, can they do that?
Yes. Yep, we can to an extent. You don't want to raise one too high, because then you can cause other problems with the foot if you go too high.
One of the opportunities during the Kirby Allison shoe resoling repair program is to actually increase the quality of the materials that are used on the shoe. So talk a little bit about that, Jim. Here we have a heel from Allen Edmonds. This isn't even leather. This is basically, it's like particle board. And so we can replace this heel base actually with a genuine leather heel.
Yes. They used to put leather heel bases on, and they've changed over the years. So when we take this off, it's probably going to tear apart, kind of like paper. And we are going to replace it with a really nice full leather heel block. All right, so I'm going to try to save this anyway. And if there's any damaged pieces, then I'll just repair it with some leather. There again, I don't like to take a heel and rip it right off, because if it's paper like this and you don't know it, see, we're able to actually save that. But if you just rip it off, then you tear it in half, then you're kind of done with it. So every step we do is an opportunity to bring in more quality and craftsmanship as we replace different parts of the shoe, such as this heel. Okay, now that we've removed the heel, we're going to remove the sole. That's the next step. So we're going to do this gently, and we're going to watch what we're doing. We're going to be very careful, because you're using sharp knives here.
And so what you're doing here is you're actually cutting in between the outsole and the welt, and you're cutting the outsole stitching that you see along.
Yes, that's all we're doing. We're just cutting the stitching. We're not touching the leather upper, and nothing's going to get damaged doing this. The only thing you might see when we're done is some of the cork falling out, and it's just because it's compressed and loosened from just normal wear. As you can see, we try to go very gentle. We don't want to force anything. We don't want to bend the shoe, take any of the shape out of it. So what we're going to do now is slowly take this off. As you can see, all the cork in here, there's a wooden shank. Now some of this cork is going to come out with the sole. That's normal. We replace all that. There we go. So that's the worn sole. You can see it's pretty thin right here. Didn't have much life, even right here where the big toe is. You can feel it's about 1 millimeter left on that.
So here we have the shoe, the outsole's been removed, and we're basically exposing the interior kind of compartment or chamber of the shoe.
Yes.
This is where we have a wooden shank. Now at this step, we're inspecting to make sure that the shank's not broken.
Right.
If it is, we'll replace it.
Yep.
One of the options during our Kirby Allison shoe resoling repair program is that if a shoe has a metal shank and you aren't able to get through airport security without the metal detector going off, we can actually replace the shank at this point with a carbon fiber or a fiberglass shank.
Yes.
And then we're going to take all of the old cork out and then replace this with new cork, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to remove this cork so we can put in fresh cork. I'll just put that on the floor. Now what we're going to do right here, there's actually a liner right here from where the upper comes in. So I'm not going to take all this out. We'll just kind of grind that out with the machine, then lay it on top. So we don't want to change the shape or the size of the shoe. So that's kind of all I'm going to do by hand. The rest is going to be by machine.
So anything else, I mean, is there anything that other shoe repair shops would cut corners here?
Oh, we've seen some, there's a lot of good cobblers out there and a lot of great shops. And there's some that just haven't been in the industry long, they're self-taught, and you never know. I've taken apart a shoe like this before and I have found newspaper stuffed in there, or I have found pieces of rubber sheeting just cut up and put in there and completely change everything. Sometimes someone will come in and complain that they were resoled and now they're too tight or they're too loose. And the reason can be with that is if you take the sole off, they didn't replace the cork. So when they put their foot in, it actually makes more room in the shoe, so now the shoes are too sloppy. Or if they've added too much filler in there, now the shoe's too tight. So this is very important right here, that you get it exact. If it's off the slightest, it can change the whole size of the shoe. Well, the next thing we're going to do is carefully replace this cork bed here. We're going to lay new cork in here, make sure everything's nice and even, no lumps, so when they put the shoe on their foot, it's going to feel just like it did when they took it off last.
Great.
Well, now we're done with the cork. We got the full cork bed in here. Everything's nice and even. We sanded everything nice and level with the welt, so there's no bumps, no lumps. Everything's filled really nice.
Yeah.
And next we're going to glue it up
Yeah.
with the nice sole on it.
So the cork helps provide, at first it helps fill that cavity where you have the rib
Yes.
that the welt is attached to the insole with.
Yes.
Right, and then it also provides a little bit of cushion.
Little bit of cushion, and actually, especially on an Allen Edmonds with the footbed, like if you stick your hand inside, you can feel this guy's foot impression in there. So as he wears these more and more, the shoe actually starts molding to his foot, and the cork actually starts doing a little bit of that as well. So,
And not all dress shoes come with the cork filling.
some different type of shoes come with rubber filling, such as like a Johnson Murphy with a trampoline arch. There's several others, but it's a nice rubber filling to give them that just a nice comfort feel as they're walking. Some shoes come with cork, which is still nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
Some shoes don't have anything. You know, one thing we do with these shoes is when they come in, when that cork is even slightly worn, we replace that cork. We want it to be just like it was when they bought it new. If there's a little piece missing, we take it all out. We don't just fill in that little piece, because then you might have an uneven area there and you can feel that. We just take it out, put it in, so when you get in your shoes back, if it had cork in it, it's going to look like this when we're done.
Yeah. But we also give the customer the opportunity to upgrade from, say, rubber to cork, if that's a feel that they want. Like, for instance, you know, you did a pair of Grinson house shoes for me that originally had, you know, the rubber filling, but I wanted a more traditional, you know, approach, and so I asked that you change it with cork.
Yes, we can do that. We can put sponge rubber sheeting in, we can put cork in, or, you know, whatever that customer wants, we will do.
Yeah. So if a customer wants a slightly more cushiony feel, can we take a shoe like an Allen Edmonds that was originally filled with cork and instead replace that with rubber?
Yeah, you could put rubber sheeting in there, give it a little more of a sponge feel, yeah. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over there and we're going to pick out a pair of JR soles. We're going to glue them up glue the shoe, and it's going to take about 15 minutes for that to dry, and then we're going to put it together.
Great.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're about to put the JR outsoles on the shoe, and the first step is to glue it before you actually stitch the sole on there.
Yes. What we're doing, we're using an adhesive that's actually made in Germany as well. One thing about this adhesive that's really great, or actually several things, is it's toluene free. There's no MEK. Doesn't have any latex in it. These are things that are harmful to people using it, and if somebody's allergic to it, wearing it, that can be a problem as well. So they don't have to worry about that. It's a very good, environmentally caring company. And one thing about this adhesive, it is not the cheapest. It's one of the most expensive adhesives to buy. We love this adhesive because it's so good. When you have a good leather shoe like this, and it has a leather welt, the glue is so good, to be honest, you wouldn't even have to stitch it and it wouldn't come apart. And I'm not kidding you, it's just a very high quality glue. The way they mill it, you don't have to even shake the can when you get it in. It's just perfect. And we spend the extra money to buy it because we want the best. We don't have to worry about the shoe coming apart, and we don't have to worry about any allergens and different things like that. So we don't want to have to redo something. We want it done right the first time. So if you buy the best and you high quality, you're going to get those results. So we're going to finish putting the adhesive on these soles. Okay. All right, so we're going to let these dry. In about 15 minutes, we're going to put them together.
So our Kirby Allison Resoling and Repair program exclusively uses JR oak bark tanned leather outsoles.
Yes, it's the best. The best in the world. You're not going to get anything that's going to do better than this sole. It's naturally waterproof or naturally water resistant because of the tannage, and it's cut from the best part of the hide. That's all they use. They only use the number one. And one of the true things about an oak bark tannage is you can see some water stains in the leather from the oak bark tannage and sitting in those pits for 8 to 10 months, to where a lot of leather companies will paint their soles so you don't see any blemishes and you don't know what kind of quality you're getting. So whenever you get a JR sole and you see a little bit of discoloration from water or anything, it's from the oak bark tannage, but it shows you that it was a true oak bark tannage. So we love it. It smells great, wears great.
Yeah, and it's much longer wearing than a normal outsole.
2 to 3 times longer than a normal sole, yes.
And then it's naturally waterproof, so you're going to have less water seeping through this sole
That's right.
into the interior than you would with a, if it ever makes it,
Yes.
than you would with a lot of the more anonymous kind of cheaper outsoles that you find used at most shoe repair shops.
Most leather soles that are made, they're made in 30 days or less. And they use a lot of fillers and man-made materials, man-made tanning agents. So when the customer goes out and walks in the rain, if they have just a regular leather sole on their shoe, the water washes out these tanning agents. As it does, the fiber structure of the leather gets looser and looser.
Yeah. And so all the JR leather outsoles are stamped with JR, so
yes.
If someone says, I've got a German outsole, it's not necessarily JR.
Yeah, if somebody comes out and says, oh, I have a German sole, you want to make sure it has JR on it, because there's just nobody that does what they do.
Yeah,
yeah.
Great.
One thing I like to do when I put my soles on is try to line that logo up perfect. The glue we use is very good, and it sticks really nice and easy. And even though I'm going to press this on my machine, I'm still going to lightly press it on by hand just so I keep that cork really nice.
So the adhesive helps add additional stability, but we're still going to attach the sole, the outsole, to the welt by stitching it.
Yeah, because that's the way it was done, and that's the way it looks, and we don't want a bunch of empty holes there, so we're going to fill those back up. But you could actually, you can't even pull this sole off now. It's on there. So if you wear your stitches through, your sole's not going to come off. Yeah, you're good. So the next thing we're going to do is press the sole on the machine, and then we're going to trim it and then get it ready for stitching.
Great.
So what this is doing is it's putting even pressure across the whole shoe. It's just securing that sole on there even better. We leave it on there for about 5 seconds or so.
So you've pressed the outsole on.
Yep.
And then we've trimmed it to size.
Yes. And we're going to trim it a little more, and we're going to get it ready to put some toe plates on and stitch it and all of that. And actually, this tool here is called a lip knife. It's very old school. There's some places that just don't quite get. I mean, you can trim it on the machine, but you know, I think just because of the way my father taught me and my grandfather, I've used this since I was 16 years old. So I like to take it out and just kind of touch it up.
So in our program, one of the things that we allow is for the customer actually to choose to have either Triumph or Lulu toe plates fitted on their shoes, which help extend the life of the toe. But these are the same toe plates that are used by the majority of the bespoke shoemakers. And so it's just another example of how we really bring quality, not just in materials, but in craftsmanship to our Kirby Allison resoling program. Yep. So you're going to actually trace out the Triumph brass toe plates on this.
Yes, and then we have to cut it out by hand.
Okay.
I use stretching fluid on the JR sole because it's got alcohol in it, and it's the only thing that really penetrates that leather well enough where I can cut into it. Because it's got that natural water resistance, it's very difficult to soften the leather with water unless you soak it for a really long time.
So you've traced that in, and then next you're going to cut.
Cut with a razor. Yeah, gotta kind of cut that in. Because you don't want that sitting up too high, because then it's going to be awkward.
So here you're not cutting all the way through the outsole, you're just cutting a
I'm
few
just
millimeters
talking
out.
about 2 millimeters. Now, you know, some people do them other ways, but, you know, any custom shoemaker or shoe cobbler, they all have their way, so I just say it's a way to do it. It's not the way, but a way. And I try to do it the safest way, because when you're working with a razor blade on something really stiff, you have to be very careful.
So Jim, we've prepared these for what is one of the most important parts of the recrafting or the resoling process. Now this is a Goodyear welted pair of shoes, so we're going to stitch the outsole into the welt.
Yes.
Now there's a few things that you do that are quite special, and the most important one is actually making sure that as you're stitching that outsole onto the welt, that you're matching these original welt holes as closely as possible so that you don't perforate or actually cut through or weaken the welt.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we're going to do a closed channel stitch on this. A lot of most all your Allen Edmonds have an open channel. What we're going to do is make a channel so the stitches lay down in there, but we're going to be able to close that channel to protect it, so you don't wear the stitches off.
And it also just creates a more elegant bottom where you don't see those exposed welt stitches on the bottom.
Yes.
And also helps make it more waterproof because again it's sealed, and so the water isn't able to actually seep into the thread.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
This is one of the last things you learn to do in this trade because it is the hardest.
The hardest.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other, I guess, a premium option that we offer here through our Kirby Allison program is the opportunity to do invisible channel stitching, which is where this is cut, peeled back, stitched, and then glued flat.
Yes.
But here we're just going to do a closed channel stitch, which still conceals the stitching, but in a slightly different way.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Okay, so we finished the welt stitching, and so now one of the most important parts is to conceal this channel to just increase the elegance and make this just look better. And so, how are we going to do that?
Well, I like to wet it again with some stretching fluid to get it nice and soft. And I actually, you know, my hammer is a very, very smooth piece of wood, and I don't like to hit it with the hammer and leave marks in the leather. So I use my handle and I close them. I'll show you how to do it. All right, so what I do is I start up here and I just start You're always going to get one or two little stitches that don't quite get in there, but we'll fix that. Don't matter in the back because the heel's going to go over that. So, if you see, you got a nice closed stitch now.
All right, so what do we got? Where are we?
Well, we've got it stitched on. Now we're going to trim it on the machine, get that really nice and flush. And then after we trim it up, we're going to put the heel on it. We're getting closer.
So now we're going to put the Triumph toe plates on while the heels are being prepared. And now that you cut this out, it's recessed, and you just screw it in, and then you'll grind it to match.
So what I do with this, I kind of get the holes pre-started there, because this JR leather is pretty tough, and you're just not going to screw into it as easy as some others. All right. There's a certain size nail I use for these. Now these are little threaded nails that are just long enough to go past the heel base and into the JR leather. And they're threaded kind of like screws, so they aren't coming out. And if you pull these out, you're going to replace the base, that's for sure. Okay, we're going to put that JR heel on there. As you can see, it's starting to all come together. All right. And I'm going to press that. Okay, so the old-fashioned tool again. That's what I use. One reason I like to use my knife on this is the cutter sometimes pulls it a little bit away from the heel, and I can get closer to the heel with my knife. Then again, like I say, this is old school. A lot of guys don't do this. So what I want to do next is go to the machine and shape all that. You can see it all kind of coming together now.
So this is really starting to shape up. So we've finished the heel. It's not finished, but we're starting to get closer.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And so you sanded it to match. So now it's got the silhouette and the shape. All the layers, match. They're all aligned. Next, we're going to put brass nails in.
Yes.
We use a attacking mechanism that is more along the lines of what you'd see from a bespoke shoemaker, where we're individually tacking in those brass nails to create a beautiful pattern on the heel.
Yeah, it's when you do it that way, nothing's changed. It's old school.
Yeah. And the reason we use brass is because it is a softer metal than steel, and it actually wears down at a rate consistent with the leather.
That's
So you don't end up with these,
right,
protruding
and
steel
plus,
tacks.
Yeah, and steel rust too. Not only, so
on the Kirby Allison resoling, we do 3 on the outside and 5 nails on the inside.
yes,
Okay.
that is it.
All right, let's see it.
Let's do it. Okay. I'll start about there, and then I go here, and then I'll do one in the middle. That way I can get everything centered up pretty good without measuring it. That's because we've been doing it for 36 years. So what I do on the brass nails is I will, all right, so try to go about 2/3 of the way in there.
So you clip the heads off and then you sand them down.
Yeah, I clip the heads off because I don't want the brass nail heads to be that big. So I clip them off, sand them flat, then I hammer them the rest of the way down. All right, so what we do now is basically I just go back and finish them off. All in there nice and smooth now.
So what we have here is, we're really beginning to see the bottom of this shoe come to life. And, I think what is special about our Kirby Allison resoling and repair program is that it's really an opportunity to elevate the level of the finishing beyond what you would get straight from the factory or even a new shoe. We're using the JR Oak Bark tanned leather outsoles, which is the highest quality available anywhere. We've got the Triumph toe plate, and then finally this beautiful tacking pattern.
Yeah, you're probably going to spend $1,000 and up to start getting, something like this out of the factory. Yeah.
And then the only thing we could change is, of course, this channel will be closed.
Yep.
But as a premium option available in the Kirby Allison resoling program is the opportunity to even take this a step farther by doing an invisible channel.
Yes.
Where this is totally hidden.
That's right. Yep. We open it up, lay it underneath, and then put the flat back over it. So now that we're getting close to the end, I want to use some sapphire wax, neutral, clear, and basically as a protector from when we put the edge dressing on, that if anything spills on this bottom. When you're putting a lot of work into brass nails and brass toe plates, and you want to keep the bottom nice, so we like to put some good wax on the bottom to keep the ink from the edge dressing that we're going to put on here from messing up anything that we're going to. Yeah, once we're done with these, you'll see how much cleaning and conditioning and polishing goes on with these shoes. All the work that you've seen us do, we're going to spend probably about 1/3 of that time just putting into the tops to give that toe that high gloss, and in the back.
Even the sole.
Yeah, even the sole. We're going to buff that sole up real nice as well. And one thing about the Kirby Allison program is we really strive for the highest levels. I mean, there's just no job you're going to get that you're just going to sling out. It's just every pair is going to get 100% of my attention.
We've allowed the edge ink to dry, and so we're getting pretty close to, the final stretch.
Yes.
Which, it's the last few steps, I guess, take the longest in some ways to really bring this up.
Well, you can take a bad job and make it look good on this finishing machine, they call it, or you can take a good job and make it look bad.
Okay.
So you really need to know what you're doing on here, because this is very important, because the last thing you want to do is spend an hour and a half, 2 hours recrafting a beautiful shoe and then mess it up on the machine.
So what are we going to do? So we've got the dried ink, and we're going to buff that, and then really...
Yeah, we use an edge and ink. Not everybody does this, some do. I like the edge and ink because it has a lot of waxes in it. It's water-based. It takes a long time takes longer for the water to evaporate than a solvent base. So that gives it time to soak in deeper. And then we buff that out real nice. We're going to use what they call an edging iron to try to get a real high gloss on this edge. And then once we're finished with all that, then we're going to the final step where we're going to put the cream and really buff that toe out and give it that Kirby Allison pop.
Yeah, great. I'm excited about that. Yeah, I've always said that, you know, the edges and heels are kind of like the last frontier of shoe care. I mean, you can have a beautifully polished shoe, you know, but if you don't take care of the edges and heels, if there's not kind of an elegance to it, if there's not a sculpture to it, and if there's not a nice high shine to it, then it really can bring down the entire shoe.
I tell you, nothing looks worse than somebody wearing a nice suit and a bad pair of shoes.
Yeah.
The most important part of finishing this shoe is right here. This is where you make it or break it. This is what makes the shoe pop, or you just mess it up. So many places you go into will use like a shine sponge with silicone, or they'll put a light coat of polish on and they'll use spray shine, and they don't really just take the time to do a really true deep mirror shine that's going to pop like it's supposed to. A true deep cleaning and shine is going to make that shoe look better than anything else out there. It takes a little time, but the results are amazing, and that's what we're going to do, because we're going to give that the Kirby Allison pop when we get to the end. Now when we start here, we're going to first use the Rendenbach, clean it, condition it real good, and then our next step is a 3-step process. We're going to take the sapphire cream, very high-end wax, best you can get. We're going to rub that into the shoe real good, buff that out to a nice shine, and then for the finishing touches, we're going to take the wax along with some of the mirror gloss, and we're going to pop those toes and that heel, and that's where we're going to set those shoes apart from any others. And the last thing we'll do is we will put in a pair of the Kirby Allison Sovereign Grade laces. These are very, very nice laces. We're going to do a ladder lace. It's a very classy looking lace. When we're done, these shoes are going to look really nice, and this is actually my favorite part right here. Yeah, this is where the magic happens right here. I want to take out these laces because we're going to replace them anyway. So we're going to do a straight lace or a ladder lace, and it just gives that shoe just so much of a more elegant look at the end. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the Rendenbach, and I'm going to clean and condition this shoe really well. It looks pretty clean now, and that's because the owner of these shoes does take good care of them, which is great because there's no cracks, and which is going to make the shoe even come out even better. Not a lot you can do with the cracks, especially if it's in that flex area right here. If you put anything in there, as soon as they walk, it's usually going to crack back out. But we can make them look better. All right, so now we're going to take this Hanger Project brush, which I have to say I'm very impressed. I have a lot of good brushes, but I think this one has twice the horsehair in it, and it is tail hair. It's really got, I tell you, it's a lot less effort buffing this shoe with this brush than mine. I'm very impressed. This is a really nice brush. Wow, that Rendenbach, you're almost not going to have to do too much of this shoe when it's done. All right, so we got that brush pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of paste wax on the bottom just to protect that from any chances of getting any black on there. Once you've worn this shoe, it's really not going to matter. You don't have to do what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing this because it's a brand new bottom, and I don't want the customer getting a brand new bottom back. The reason I'm buffing that polish off is it seals that leather, so now nothing can penetrate in there. So now we're going to move on to the Medal d'Or Sapphire, and we're going to rub this cream in really good. This has a lot of great stuff in it. Just not only cleans shoes, but just goes in there and really conditions them really well. There's so many cheap products out there that that just don't even come close to what this does. Usually with all the sapphire products that we use that's in the Kirby Allison program, there's nothing else we really need. It's very rare I have to ever take out some dye and touch something up. Very rare. These products are just some of the best products I have ever used in my life, and I've been in this a long time. And you don't want to apply it on thick. You want just a nice thin coat, and you're going to get your better results that way. And I go ahead and kind of smooth it on over the sole edge as well when I'm doing a new sole. Yeah, right here is a little bit of a gash where he hit it against something. And of course, you're going to hit it on the cap toe, which makes you sick. I know a lot of you out there have done it. I've done it. But we're going to try to fill that in a little bit as well. That will definitely be looking a lot better when we're done with it here in a few minutes. We're going to move to the high shine chamois now. Definitely has a different feel to it than the regular cotton. I like the cotton, it's great for a lot of things, but boy, this does feel nice. I want to start off with just a little bit of the harder wax just to put on that gash right up on the toe, just to fill that in a bit, and see if we can get some of that to fill in. All right, so now we're going to start working on those two most important spots that I think are, well, they're my favorite parts to work on, actually. Now, sometimes, depending on how the person is taking care of their shoes, if they've been polishing them regularly, it doesn't take too long to work up a good mirror shine on that toe. Now, if it's a fairly new shoe, just have patience. It can take a while. I remember when I was doing them years and years ago, I just felt like I would never get there, and I just wasn't good enough or had the right touch to do it. And by watching these videos on the hanger project, you're going to learn the right touch. So it takes the right touch and it takes the right amount of time. It's very therapeutic. I have a doctor that comes in my store that loves to shine his shoes. He said the two ways he relieves stress after a long day, he either plays his piano or he shines his shoes. And when you're shining your shoes, you really don't think about anything other than shining the shoe. It's a great way to just let your mind get away from all the garbage you've had to deal with all day. So now it's time to put the laces in. We're using the Kirby Allison Sovereign grade laces. These are some of the most professional looking laces I've actually ever seen and used. It's very important to have the right kind of lace and the right kind of shoe, especially a shoe like this. Nothing looks worse than when somebody comes in with just a pair of plain old cotton laces in such a shoe. It clashes. It's almost like wearing a striped shirt with a plaid pair of pants, and I've done that before. But anyway, the Kirby Allison Sovereign grade laces, it's really going to be hard to beat these. So we're going to do a ladder lace with these today, or a straight lace. And this can be a little tricky for someone that's never done it. I'm going to try to do it the opposite direction I'm used to here. All right, so here we are, all finished. We have the Sovereign grade laces in. We got the cap toes, high mirror gloss, the heel. And as you can see, we have the sole all finished with a nice Triumph plate. This really turned out nice. There's nothing more rewarding than taking a shoe that comes in worn out with a hole through the bottom, and you take it, put on that new sole with a JR sole, and recondition that shoe and mirror shine those toes. It's just very rewarding. And when this customer puts on these shoes, or even just takes them out of the bag, he's going to get that wow effect. And nothing does it more than that, what I call that mirror toe there, that Kirby Allison pop. So here we are at the end of our project, and we're going to include this nice Hanger Project Certified Resoling and Repair certificate in each and every pair of shoes that we do. We're going to show you what we've done to your shoes, and we're also going to have an area down here on the bottom where we're going to write notes. We're going to write notes down there if you've taken good care of your shoes. Maybe you've let them get a little too dry. We're going to write that down. Anything that we see that can help you and let you wear those shoes longer for decades to come, we're going to put all that information down here, because we care about every single pair that comes through here and every single customer that sends in a pair of shoes. Each and every one of them is very important to us. So look for this card when you get your package and read it carefully. And if you have any questions, just email us at the Hanger Project.
Here we are at the end of our Kirby Allison certified shoe resoling and repair, and you can see that this pair of Allen Edmonds has been totally transformed. And it's just so satisfying, Jim, to be able to see the amount of time and really care that you put into the resoling. So the Kirby Allison hand recrafting program is so much more than just a new pair of soles. It's really elevating and really refurbishing the entire shoe itself. You know, it's that extensive kind of maintenance to really take it, you know, the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Yes, and the most important thing is I'm a very hard person. I'm probably harder on myself than most customers are. The satisfaction I get out of a great pair of shoes like that, it really takes a lot for me to get to that level. And because we want that customer, when they open up that box and pull out that shoe, we want them to have that same feeling of satisfaction. They're just going to look at those shoes, and it's going to just bring life back into them as well.
Yeah. So our Kirby Allison hand refurbishment and restoration program really takes shoe repair to the next level. And it's just so great to finally be able to have a cobbler like yourself, a third generation, 17-time award-winning, you know, that is really able to bring the passion for shoes and for shoe repair, you know, to our Kirby Allison shoe restoration and refurbishment program. It's not just a new sole, it's a new life.
Yeah, and I tell you, with that sole, the high quality sole, and with the high quality products we put on that shoe, they're going to get 2 to 3 times the wear that they did originally out of this. So they're going to be very happy.
Yeah. Jim, hey, thank you so much for all your passionate work.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications by clicking the bell to the right of the subscribe button so that you can learn whenever we release new videos. If you have any questions or comments about anything we discussed on this video, please ask them in the comments section below. And of course, please visit hangerproject.com, where we have the largest, most comprehensive collection of luxury garment care and shoe care accessories in the world, as well as many other incredible products for the well-dressed. And while you are there, subscribe to our newsletter to receive notifications of new product launches, promotions, as well as a weekly digest of all the videos we publish here on our YouTube channel.